This is a really comfy hot seat.
It's about to roll off the edge too.
I like being on the edge. Okay, so I'm really starting to understand everything when Esther talks about the dovetailing, people coming in your life at the right moment, at the right time, and I'm really learning you can create anything. It really is as easy, a castle or a button. And I've become so powerful. I'm creating things really big. And then,
well, when you accept that it's all out there and that you're just tuning so that it can come into, in other words, how do things become reality? And when you realize it's just a tuning process, and when you figure out how to tune, then no limits. As easy to create a castle as a button. It's just a matter of tuning to it. Yes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And all these amazing things are really flowing into my life. I created a trip around Europe for 2 weeks. On that trip, I was flying so high, I manifested this couple to come in my life who's offered me to relocate to Sydney. So I'm moving to Australia in a couple weeks. And it's all just been yes, yes, yes. And that's how I know it's the right move, because it's inspired. There's been no resistance.
Yes.
But when time goes by, you start to think or maybe put some resistance on the trail.
And why do you do that? You do that because it's not supposed to be that easy.
Right.
And because I'm supposed to struggle harder. Have you ever gone to purchase something, a car or a garment or a piece of jewelry or something, and right away the first thing you saw was it? Oh, that was far too easy. Mm-hmm. I need to suffer more to find the perfect house or the perfect whatever. And so then you work at it all day, maybe all week, maybe for a month or 2 or 3, and end up going right back to where you were first inspired to go. Because most of you do not accept how blessed you are, how worthy you are, and how simple and easy it is supposed to be. Life is not supposed to be a struggle, but you want to make it one when you need the validation from others. Because a lot of times people don't want to honor your accomplishment unless you've suffered as much as they think you should. And the reason that so much of mass consciousness is oriented that way is because they've been suffering and not accomplishing. So you better not accomplish without suffering. Did you hear that? We're going to say it again, because that's everything that we've been talking about here. They've been suffering without getting what they want. And from their point of view, you better not get what you want easily. Isn't that interesting? And yet it's the ease that is necessary in order for it to come in the way that you've intended for it to be. It's not supposed to be hard.
If you really start listening, because your feelings are everything and they're telling you your guidance. And I did start to feel that resistance. I couldn't tell if my resistance was source was already there and I wasn't. So that's why I felt versus it was a sign that I shouldn't go.
Nope.
Okay.
When you feel negative emotion, what it always means is your inner being is looking right at what you're looking at right now. So when you have an emotion, it is an emotion that is in response to what is active in your thought process right now. It's not about something yesterday unless you're thinking about something that happened yesterday. It's not about tomorrow unless you're thinking about something that you want to happen tomorrow. It's about what's active in your thought process right now. And the reason that you have an emotion is because your inner being has an opinion about the same thing that you have an opinion about. So when you feel negative emotion, it always means the same thing. Your inner being isn't seeing it the way you're seeing it. Every single time. Every single time. So that makes it really simple. You want to be aware of what you're thinking about. Esther would say, or does say, as she feels an emotion waft through her, she wants to stop and isolate what that thought was. But she doesn't need to stop and isolate that specific thought, because that specific thought is in the ballpark of a bunch of other thoughts, because that's the way law of attraction works. Have you ever found yourself worrying about something? Now you're worrying about more things, and then things that are long gone start coming into the mix. And it's because they all have a category, they all have a vibrational frequency. And so when you fixate on one, everything like that starts wafting into your mind. And what's happening? That thought is beginning to turn to things. That thought is beginning to turn to things. Now you're in the receptive mode of that worrisome thought, and now you're in the receptive mode. More worrisome thoughts like it are gathering too. You see what we're getting at? So you don't have to stop and isolate. Oh, what thought did I think that my inner being is not in harmony with? The whole bunch of them your inner being is not in harmony with, because they're all off there in left field, not in sync with what you want. And as you've activated them, then you're not going to feel so good. The best thing to do really is to distract yourself from that. Just go do something else for a while. Just let them dissipate by your lack of attention to them. And that will happen when you meditate or when you slumber anyway. But the thing is, when you have this knowledge, so that you know that tomorrow morning when you wake up, that you do have that brief moment before you start focusing on something that has the potential of doing that same thing again, you have a brief moment when you first wake up to choose a different vibrational category, because your thoughts matter a lot. We think that you might have fun considering how many categories you've got going on, and we think you might be surprised to realize not that many. There's the "they done me wrong" category. There's the "life is hard" category. There's the "I paid too big of a price" category. In other words, there's a whole lot of thoughts that you think that as soon as you focus there, they all sort of stream in to support that bogus idea. And how do you know it's a bogus idea? You're not feeling good, and your inner being isn't having any of it. You ever been around a dinner table? Somebody starts complaining, makes you remember something like that, makes them remember something like that. It's a similar thing, although sometimes people are just drawn to the subject of things. But your law of attraction is drawing you to the vibrational basis that you've got going on. So now let's start again. So you were saying that things are going along really well, and then a thought occurs to you, and then it makes you doubt. So the feeling of doubt is a category, isn't it? Oh, that's worth thinking about. The emotion that you feel represents a category of some thoughts, doesn't it? So what kind of other thoughts have you thought in the past, or are you currently thinking, that fall into the category that makes the emotion of doubt a good responder? Things aren't supposed to be this easy. It was really sort of an impulsive thing. I don't really even know these people. They might be stalkers. But none of those thoughts feel good, do they? And the reason that they don't feel good is because your inner being is thinking, this is everything that you've been asking for. This is the dovetailing of so many opportunities that are in your vortex. You were tuned in, tapped in, turned on. That's why you were in that place. You were following inspiration. This is the turning of the vibration to the thoughts and the thoughts to the things. If you really want to know, it seems logical that you could say, well, I'll think this thought and test it, and then I'll think this thought and test it. Only thing is, when you're in that funk, you can't think this thought and test it. You only have access to these thoughts. So you can't really even test it out very well, except that you can just prove to yourself that you're in a bad mood. And if you're in a bad mood, then you know that your thoughts are not productive and that they're not beneficial. Esther has said to herself, and she really means it, I am never, ever going to make a decision when I'm in a bad mood. And it's helpful if you don't take action when you're in a bad mood either, because it's just going to get worse. Esther saw some interesting man checking in last night about the same time she was. She was checking in. He was coming back to complain about his room. And he couldn't get anyone to even listen to him. They knew his problem was legitimate, but his discomfort and unhappiness and attitude of blame was so strong that even though he kept asking for another person and another person and another person, they all kept telling him the same thing. And he was not satisfied. And those were his words as he walked away. This is completely unacceptable, as he accepted it and went back to his room. This is completely unacceptable. And what he meant was, I am going to use this as my reason to not feel good for as long as I can keep it active. And I can't get any of you to do something about it. None of you are willing to change the condition to make me feel better. So I am not going to feel better. I'm not going to feel better because I need the condition to change before I can feel better. And Esther thought, oh man, I've been there. I've been there. I get it. I've been there. But I'm not anymore. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Enough?
Yes. Thank you.
Really good.
Good.
Really good.
Thank you.